Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Dean Zachary, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we go beyond politics, beyond calculation, and beyond the big two. Join us each and every Wednesday. Don't miss out.
Hi, I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Silver Sunday. This is number 2. I am your host. I am Roland Mann.
Hi, I'm Becca Winslow.
Hello, I'm Curtis
Fujita.
Yeah, that's my alter ego, Seafood Curtis Fujita, but here just Curtis Fujita.
I'm John Martin. I'm the resident Viking big guy.
My name is Barb Kilbert.
Well, yeah, I don't have as many strings to my bow as everyone else, I think. But I'm Peter Clinton.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mike W. Belcher.
And last but not least is Aaron Humphreys. Aaron, tell people who you are.
I am the artist on the upcoming Fire Rush.
Now, on to the topic for the night. Conventions. Those are always exciting, and especially since we're in the middle of COVID lockdown, right? So I think the first question I want to ask everybody is what's the first convention that you attended ever? I mean, this goes back to like when you were still just a fan, before you're professional. What was the first convention you attended? Who did you go to see? And maybe a memory or two of it. Becky, you're at the top of the list. Do you want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, go first.
So I'm in New Jersey, like right next to New York City. So the first convention I ever went to was New York City Comic Con. I didn't go with any sort of idea or plan, which is a horrible thing to do if you're going to New York City Comic Con, because it is insanely huge. There's so much going on. It was so overwhelming. And I only had a one-day pass. So it was me and my best friend just walking around so overstimulated, and we didn't know what to do because the smells are just terrific there. And I think they were doing construction on what's that building? that they have it in.
The Javits.
The Javits Center, thank you. They're doing construction on it, so they had part of it shut down, so it was smaller than it normally was. So all these people were inside that are even crowded more so than they usually are, because I've been there since when the other rooms were open, and I actually didn't want to go back ever to New York City Comic Con, but because of being a Kubert student, you have to go every 3 years. But that was my first experience ever going as a fan to a convention. And I haven't actually been back to a convention not as a fan since. I've only gone as an artist after that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, once you go, I think as a professional, it's kind of hard to. I mean, you're still always going to be a fan of comics because that's kind of what you are as to get you there. But it's kind of hard to go just as a fan. I've had a couple of friends that invite me to come to their area, and I'm like, well, I've been trying to get up into a convention. They're like, well, you just attend as a fan, and I'm like, I could, I could. Yeah.
I kind of like going as an artist though, because at least you have like a definite place to sit.
Yeah.
At one point during it.
And you don't have to queue up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've become a lot worse, I think, in the last 15, 20 years. Lines normally weren't that bad until the Rockstar era of Image. I mean, give an example, and a couple of these folks can probably remember as well. I just walked up to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby at the Marvel booths and just said hello to them and shook their hands and asked Stan Lee to sign a comic for me. I didn't have to stand in line. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to pay $120 to wait it for an hour to do it. I just walked up. But yeah, you couldn't do that the last decade. So it's different. Cool story. Curtis, what about you?
Yeah, so the first con I went to as a fan, it was the Los Angeles Comic Book and Science Fiction Convention. It used to be held at the Shrine Auditorium, which is by where they do the film awards and stuff. And it was amazing to go in there. That was just before the dawn of a lot of anime and things like that being released in the U.S. readily. So I still recall going there, and you had to buy video cassettes of these bootleg Japanese anime, and it wouldn't even be subtitled. They would actually have a synopsis on the case that told you what the episode was like. And so you'd read the case and say, okay, this is what I'm going to watch, and then you could watch the movie. But it was a really cool convention, and a little dingy, but that's kind of, I guess you could say, some of the charm of it. So that would be my first convention experience.
And there were a lot of bootlegs kind of back in the days, right? I mean, of course, this was really kind of before DVDs and stuff, but I remember table after table of all these bootleg VHSs. All these VHS tapes of what we now consider cult movies, cult classics. I know there's a lot of anime at the time.
Oh, fanzines too.
Fanzines, yeah.
Sold fanzines at those things.
Yeah. John, what about you? What's first convention you ever went to?
Oh God, first one I ever went to was Mid-South Comic Con here in Memphis. And that's actually the first time I met Mitch and Dean.
Do you remember what year that was?
Jesus.
By any chance?
If you need to count your fingers, that's okay. I do that too.
No, I think the year before I decided I wanted to go pro. So probably about 6-7 years ago, something like that.
Wow. Possibly 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that show. I was at the Mid-South Con in 2015. Dean actually sent me a picture from that year, and I'm like, Dean, I've got a picture of us, me and Dean and Mitch and Jim Hall from 2015.
And that was my first like portfolio review, and
Yeah.
it just kind of went from there.
Wow. Barb, your first show?
Oh, well, I went to several science fiction conventions down in Chicago before I turned my sights to comics. So those don't really count. But I decided I wanted to become a comic book artist. And so in 1987, my aunt used to be a troubleshooter for computer programming, and she had all these airline miles racked up points. And she goes, I'll send you. Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I just picked the biggest one. I said, I'm going to go to San Diego Comic-Con and get a job.
Oh, whoa.
Yep. So in 1987, I went out there and had no idea what I was doing. I was a complete geek and took everything I shouldn't have taken. But I sat in on a bunch of seminars that were really good. The best one was from Dick Giordano, and I took notes like my life depended on it. Went back home, practiced for a year, and came back in 1988 and got a job as an inker. And in 1989, I was being published at Malibu, or Eternity and Adventure Malibu.
That's fast.
Yeah.
That's fast. Wow. Cool. Peter, what about you?
Well, over here, we don't obviously have as many conventions as you guys, but we did for a while. We had something called the London Super Comic Con, which was really good. It was big, and it was focused on just comics, not movie stars or TV stars or anything like that. They were really trying to emulate the big American conventions like New York, but the first year they did it, they got Stan Lee to come over. They paid him, I understand, £250,000
Whoa.
to come over. And the queues to see Stan Lee were hours long. But I bought a VIP ticket, and it cost me a lot of money. But I was working in the city at the time, so I had the money to spare. And it meant you got to meet and greet with him basically after the show. You got to go to a small Q&A session with him, and that was awesome. And that was the first convention. They had all these big American artists and English artists and writers. It was cool, and they ran that for about 3 years, I think, before finally, I think the people who owned it fell out and it fell apart. But that was the first one. And then after that, I went to New York and got a ticket for a day there, and that was an eye opener. Then I saw how big how big they were compared to the English ones.
Oh, and that's nothing compared to San Diego.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started going to San Diego, it was 30,000 people, and the last time I went, it was 150,000 people.
Yeah.
It's
nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah. But yeah, so that I had my first conference experience was with Stan Lee, so that was cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I just realized that we don't have any art up here at the same time. Who wants to share their art first? Becky, you want to share first?
Okay.
Becca's about to start sharing, so get her on half the screen there. Mike W., what about you? What was your first convention?
It was probably around 93 or 94. Cons in Kentucky were very few and far between. So,
well, and not just Kentucky. You're part of Kentucky too, right?
Well, sometimes they don't think Eastern Kentucky is part of Kentucky. We're kind of left out of a lot of stuff. But Lexington had one in 93 or 94, and they had David Prowse and Kevin Van Hook.
Wow!
So I kind of ran there because that was, I think, Valiant was pretty much hot and heavy right about that time, and I had a couple of ideas, and I thought, well, Kevin Van Hook, in addition to being a writer there, was also an editor there, and so I thought, but he was extremely nice, but he basically told me that it was not the place for him to look at some of my stories. I guess he was afraid that maybe someday I would say that he stole an idea. I don't know. I didn't know what the protocol was. Like I said, there were very few and far between them.
Yeah.
And so but it was a nice time. I was really, it was more focused on just getting some ideas. And he, like I said, he was extremely cool. He was extremely cool about some things when I asked him questions. So that was that was very nice. But it was a long time after that before I went to my next one. So it was pretty good memory.
Wow. Yeah, pretty cool. Aaron, what about you?
My I'm sorry, I'm just like watching Becca Inc. Sorry, I'm just kind of mesmerized. It caught me mid thought, like, interesting. No, she's doing good. I'm just watching her. Uh, no, our conventions in Washington, there was one that ran for years called Second Genesis, and I think I went in middle school. So I'm thinking it was 88, 89, probably the year after Barb went to San Diego a few years. And it was a flea market sort of convention. If you were trying to ask me, remember the exact first one I went to, I don't remember. I used to go to these things like every year, so they all can jumble together in my head. But it cost like $6 to get in, and people sold little toys and comics, and it was pretty low key. But I think it was dissolved years ago. I still miss it. It was really fun. But again, like you said, there were no lines to meet creators, hardly any. I mean, if there were lines, it was like maybe 3 people in front of you. There was nothing like today. Conventions are so different today. They still kind of have a little bit of the flea market, but there was much more of that in the one I went to. And the bootleg, they sold tons of bootleg videos, and people brought like their old toys from kids and sold them, and so. But they sold lots of comics too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like a couple of you. I don't remember the year of my exact first one. It was probably around 83. But it was not a convention that had a guest. It was a convention in the bottom of a hotel that was just full of comics. And I mean, they promoted it as a comic book convention. And when you went in, again, it was just a big lobby, not a lobby floor, like a dining hall that's in the bottom of a hotel, right? That's where our proms were held in hotel. What are the grand ballrooms or whatever they are? This is where it was. It was just full of comics, and I just remember walking around going, "Wow, this is amazing!" And it was one local to Jackson, and then I know I went the next year, and there was actually a local person with their comic. I still remember it. It was called The Cobra, and it was done by a couple of guys who ran the comic shop. And then in '86, when I went down to college, down to Hattiesburg to college, I met some other comic book geeks, and then we started going to comic shows down in New Orleans. That's where the first one I went and met creators. I met Bob Burden of the Flaming Carrot. I met Mark Silvestri. I met Klaus Janson. And this was a convention. I still remember. I think this was it was either 86 or 87. Nobody went. It was on the wrong weekend for the city, and so everyone was out doing something else, and no one went to the convention. And we just sat. And Marshall Rogers, got to meet Marshall Rogers, and we just sat, hung out with them. You literally could just pull up a knee and sit there and talk to them because nobody was getting in the way. And that was great because there were a handful of really big creators that took their time to talk with us, and so that was a lot of fun. So what about let's think about some other things. What has been your what about celebrities? Anybody had any sort of run-ins with celebrities at conventions? And I mean, you tell positive and negative ones.
Like, are you talking comic book celebrities, or just celebrities like movies or anything?
Well, let's stay not comic book celebrities. Let's talk about the media celebrities, since they seem to be so all powerful these days at conventions. I don't really consider a lot of comic book people celebrities. I know that someone might say, oh, well, Todd McFarlane's a celebrity. Okay, well, I get that, but I don't think of Todd McFarlane as a celebrity. I think about
he's a celebrity within his own community.
Yeah.
Going back to that whole way back when everything was more relaxed and laid back thing. When I first started going to San Diego Comic-Con, and I went all through the 2000s, started going in 1987, like I said, you would run across the people from the original Star Trek, like you know, George Takai and Walter Koenig, and you'd be standing on the shuttle line waiting to get on the shuttle bus to go back to the hotels with them, and you'd be like, "Hey, how was your day?" "Oh, I'm exhausted." I know, right? Isn't that something? And it was just natural and normal, and you wouldn't think anything about it. One time I sat and did signings all day, and I was next to the cast of, I don't even remember what science fiction show it was. Might have been Babylon 5 for all I know. And I didn't even, it didn't even cross my mind that to say, "Oh my God." You know, we were all sat in long 8x8 tables in the artist alley.
Yeah. Everyone's just kind of placed there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be next to, when I did Rose City, I've been next to the huge celebrity. I would just go look at him. I didn't really run into him that much because he kind of stayed. But I mean, I think it was Anthony Michael Hall, and they had the other gentleman who started in Weird Science there. Those are the two that we walked. I took somebody I knew, walked up and met them. But I've always been, I mean, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've had any weird sort of, I did see George Takei at San Diego, I think one time in the crowd. It's just, it's funny you bring up George Takei. I'm like, yeah, I saw him in a crowd. Like, the guy's just everywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Bill Mumy and Miguel Ferrer used to be in a band called Seduction of the Innocent, and they used to play all the time at after parties at San Diego.
Yeah. My one regret is one of my regrets about San Diego is I never got to hear them. I would have loved to have heard them. Yeah, because Steve Lialoa, however you say his last name, he was with them. Yeah, that guy. He was with them too. So what about it? Anybody else? I know, Mike, you got to be careful since you kind of also involved in the con making.
Yeah, I'm actually the celebrity guys. That's pretty much somebody else. I focus on getting guys like you. I'm the comic geek. I'm the comic geek. When I go to another con, that's who I'm out there to see. I'm usually here to see those celebrities. But as far as run-in, there's actually a funny story. My wife Carrie, she actually has a run-in story because she almost ran over Dean Cain at a Wizard World in Louisville. But he was extremely cool after, he caught himself, but she was going through the crowd, and we of course wouldn't have expected somebody just walking through the crowd, and she turned back to say something, and then when she turned back around, there was Dean Cain. So she had to run in. But as far as me, I'd say I'm a comic geek. I'm usually, if I go anywhere, and then again, as you've probably seen at Pottville, I fraternize with you guys. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anybody else? Curtis, you look like you got, go ahead.
Yeah, I had, it was kind of funny because, other than just seeing them in panels, but it was actually in the last maybe 6 or 7 years or so, I was at a small convention in Ventura County, the Ventura County Comic Con. And I was at a booth, and on my right was a gentleman by the name of Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. He was the Shang Tsung villain in the Mortal Kombat movies, and he had a booth next to me. And on my left was the wrestler, the Honky Tonk Man from the WWE. And they were just super cool and super chill. And I got to spend the whole weekend just talking to Honky Tonk Man and this famous villain actor. So not necessarily A-list, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah,
that's my closest run.
I spent, I think, 2 hours in the after con bar in Chicago with Lou Ferrigno one year, just talking.
Yeah. I don't, I know I've never had any negative. I have never had any negative experiences with celebrities at conventions. Lost sound. Brett, I'm seeing that we maybe have lost sound on YouTube. I never had any negative. Mine have always been pretty positive with celebrities at conventions. Now I have to say at conventions because there may be negative stories, but they don't have to do with conventions. But probably one of my coolest is when I was at Dragon Con in the early 90s. I don't remember exactly what year. It might have been 93. 92 or 93 or something. I get on an elevator and I'm standing there and in walks Ray Bradbury. And I literally, I look at him and I'm like, holy crap, you're Ray Bradbury. He looks down at his tag, puts it up, looks at it, and he goes, holy crap, I am.
So cool.
I'm just like, oh my goodness. So, it was the thing about it is my reaction, it wasn't planned. It was a genuine, honest reaction.
Yeah.
There's Ray Bradbury, and
Well, he
yeah.
caught you by surprise.
He did. I mean, I'm on the
Yeah.
elevator. I if it'd been in the assembly hall or the convention hall or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I might not have been a surprise. But it's Ray Bradbury on the elevator, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's yeah. So I went into the green, and I can't remember his name right now. I went into the green room at some show in Missouri, a little show in Missouri. Probably it's the only show I've ever done in Missouri ever. I'd like to get back there sometime. Not to that show, but just to Missouri. And I sat there and talked with a couple of guys who were also in there. And the green room had like potato chips and really nothing. And I was kind of wanting a little finger sandwich, and talked with this guy that had like earrings and some tattoos and stuff like that. Really nice guy. I just assumed he was one of the artists there, right? Come to find out, he's a lead singer in some band that everybody knew. And I'm like, oh yeah, I talked to that guy for a bit. He was really cool, And they're like, what? You talked to him? Like, I didn't even know who he was, right? Yeah. So that was pretty neat. I wish I could remember. I have to do the research. I'll go back and look at that convention and see if I can remember who he was. So we're gonna before I ask the next question here, Wubba has a question for the group, which is going to have to be probably more for the artist. And it says, his question is, do you prefer the sharp line of ruler or the more organic feel of freehanding straight lines for bricks and such?
He's referencing what Becca's doing right
yeah,
now.
He's got to be watching Becca.
Actually,
so.
I like what I'm doing right now. I'm doing shading, so I like to initially start with straight lines, especially when I'm penciling or drawing it out. That way you have it straight, but I always like to go back in and give it that organic look, because you want to keep the perspective, and when you're doing bricks and anything like that, it's showing the perspective in it. So you want to keep true to the perspective. And once you do that and have that solid foundation, then you can go in and do some free line and more organic stuff.
Usually when I do bricks, I used to do every brick like what Becca's doing now, and then I just found it was too distracting to my eye. So I would break the bricks up into little stacks to give it indication that there's bricks there. It was a little easier, and then, but that's just me. Every time people make specific patterns in art, my eye draws to the pattern more than the subject matter of the panel. So
I think
for me, I'm extremely anal, so I like my really straight lines, unless we come to things like bricks and rocks. And I'm an old-fashioned inker. I use a brush 90% of the time. But for bricks, I will break out the crow quill because it gives a rougher drag and a more natural feel, and I will freehand it.
Well, we could just all sit here and critique what Becca's doing.
You can critique me, that's fine.
She's like, whatever, man.
I'm a QB. I'm used to it.
She's been used to being raked over the coals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you use you should use the ruler, or I do, in your pencil stage. Then once you go to your inks, you can freehand it basically. It gives it more of an organic feel.
That's what I do a lot too. Exactly.
I'll set it up. Even though I'm not the artist, I will say as an editor, when I'm looking, if it's really clear someone doesn't use a ruler, I got issues with that. Because a ruler is one of your tools that you should use. And if I can see that your brick lines look like I drew it, then I find that problematic, because it's like, if I could draw the wall, then why aren't I doing it? You're supposed to be the artist with the tools. You know what I'm saying?
It also depends on the distance. If the bricks
yeah.
are in a far distance, I'll use a ruler because nobody's going to notice that far away. If it's a brick wall that's supposed to be a block away, nobody's going to notice if it's organic or not. But if the bricks are real up close, I want them to look organic.
Yeah. I also think it probably sometimes the style of the story and the artist can the style of the artist sometimes can determine that as well. You know,
right? Whatever fit. Definitely, it fits that. More. I was gonna say something, lost my train of thought. That's typical. I was gonna
hey, look, listen. I hate to, you have a case of OLD, and that's okay. John or Mike, what do you guys think? Got opinions?
I'm a ruler guy.
Not both of you at the same time, but you know.
John, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they pretty much covered everything I would have said. I mean, if it's far away, I'm gonna use a ruler. If it's up close, I'm gonna just kick it with a brush, or unless I'm inking over somebody like Chris Spruce, where it has to be. His pencil work is so freaking straight. I think when he does buildings and stuff like that, I think it's like you kind of have to do that. So,
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I had a teacher when you were talking about using rulers, Roland. I had a teacher that would he was an illustrator, and he said something to the effect like only amateurs use like rulers or stencils, and I was just like, what? And he had this sort of exercise. He's like, I practice this talking on the phone, and he would draw 2 lines and then practice drawing from one dot to the next dot. Like he would just draw these lines between these 2 dots. That's what it was, these 2 dots. And it's like that way you could practice drawing straight lines. I'm looking at him like, yeah, but you have rulers and I mean, he would practice drawing circles. Like, why you practice drawing circles? You have stencils.
It's like a basketball player practicing putting up the net.
Yeah,
it's like what?
See all of those? You see all of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all templates lined up on my drawing board.
You might make my teacher go weak in the knees or something in a bad way if you saw those.
Well, whenever I as you might imagine, as an editor, I saw lots of submissions, and I was surprised, continually surprised at the number of artists that submitted work, and they clearly didn't use rulers or French curves or tools like that. And I used to always think, I wouldn't want you. Yeah, it's like I wouldn't want a carpenter. Eyeballing my house. Wow, this one looks about right. Let's put this one up there. It's like, no, you have tools for a reason. You must use them. Mike, what about you?
I'm definitely a ruler, but on other things, I'll go freehand with it. But usually with bricks and buildings and things like that, I definitely depend on the ruler and depend on the straightness of it. But again, when it comes to cars, lately I've been, instead of using something that'll help things look, technical or whatever, I've been doing a lot more freehand stuff. And I usually go by, if I like it, usually it's by eye. So that's kind of the way I go with most things. But I'll depend on the ruler when it comes to things that are very, very geometric.
Yeah. Good question, Wubba. Thanks. All right, so back to conventions here. John asked us a question. He says,
I did.
Excuse me, John, on the comments here. Our old pal, John Medic, he says, has anyone ever paid for a table and was told that they would get spot X, for example? But when you get there for the setup night, you learn they moved you to the worst possible, off the beaten path, almost in Siberia, banished area instead.
Yes, the Huber table. Every year.
Really?
Yeah, they always shove baby in the corner.
Yeah.
So all right, so here's a question I have about the Kubert table though. Is that does Kubert pay for that, or that's probably a comped table from the show, right?
I think the school is one of the sponsors of the con. Obviously, as part of that, they get
really.
Get a table. I don't know what.
So if the Kubert School is a sponsor, why did they get stuck in the back?
This last convention, my third year last year, we were right at the back, and opposite us was Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, all the big DC guys. Art Germ was behind us, and the Art Germ queue round in front of our table. I mean, he did really well that con. Considering how much he charges for a commission, and his queue didn't ever get short.
I'm in a group or two in which these groups worship Art Germ, and I'll be honest with you, the first time I heard it, I didn't know who they were talking about. I'm like, what the heck's Art Germ, right? I thought this was it was
actually
a studio.
really good.
Well, that's what I've learned is like I thought it was a studio or something, right? But these guys kept talking about in this group kept talking about how great Art Germ was and how they got this cover and everything, and I'm like, what the heck? It's like I don't know. I'm maybe I'm so old that I have a problem calling someone Art Germ. It's like I don't know. It's like got a name? Is it Mike or John or Paul or Ringo? What the heck's your name?
Bob.
I've always gotten the table that I wanted, but there are times when my 8-foot little one table has been stuck across from a print company that has got like 5 tables and they're 50-foot high display, and everybody who turns into my aisle never even looks at my table because they are so focused on this massive display that I might as well have been invisible.
Yeah.
Strange enough, had the same sort of thing in an opposite way. I always got the table. I guess I was assigned, but for some odd reason, I've had like almost 3 conventions where people next to me don't show up, so I have empty seats, right? And I had a few, and I still don't get like so because I mean they're like $300 tables sometimes, like so you just drop 300 and don't care because at a certain point you can't get a refund. And so a lot of times I would have these extra tables and I would try to fill them up with my art or something because when people walk down, they feel like it's the end of the convention. Oh, there's only 1 or 2 guys here. We're at the end of the convention. Let's turn around. So I dealt with that a lot. Like I was just like, maybe it was me. Maybe they just saw my name next to them and they're like, I ain't going there. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I had that happen more than once.
I'm the nobody, so I was always
90% of the time my tables are comped, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't attend shows anymore where I pay for the table, so I don't really know. I haven't done that in years. But I will say this: I have been invited to a show, and so one of the things, because we're so far in Florida, one of the things that I've tried to do in order to help shows LA costs, because I know I'm not an A or B tier draw. And so what I've tried to do is say, hey, if you're interested in having me, my buddy over here is also an artist, and we, be happy to share the drive up. We'll split a hotel room, that kind of thing. And a lot of times conventions are like, oh, well, I'm already gonna, if I'm gonna get you up, I've already got to pay for gas, I've already got to pay for a hotel room, and you're telling me all I really need is 1 extra table, and I can get 2. I'm like, yeah, So I found that a lot of conventions are more apt to do that, right? And I'm always very clear. Each of us need to have a table. Okay. Jeff Whiting and I, Jeff lives not far, and he and I've driven to a bunch of shows. We drove, I want to say 15 hours one day to a show up in West Tennessee. Okay. Long drive way up there. Right. So we get there and we get into, love you, John. And we get into the show, pulling our stuff in there. The guy says, okay, I got you 2 guys on a table at the back. I'm like, back's fine, whatever, and I'm like, he said, y'all are good with sharing a table, aren't you? And I'm like, oh no, I didn't drive. I love Jeff, right? But I didn't drive 15 hours to share a table with him. I'm like, can you see how much I've got on my dolly here? No, I can't fit that on a 3-foot space. And the guy literally swore at me. This was the guy who had invited me up, invited Jeff up, and he literally swore at me for that. And I'm like, okay, I can leave, if you don't have the room for me to this show. He goes, I'll figure something out. And so Jeff and I stood in the lobby for about 10 minutes, and then the Brightwisers were there. So he had to kind of caddy corner tables over the exit in the back, the fire escape exit, in order to get me and Jeff both in there. He what it amounted to is that he just oversold his tables. Someone probably came up at the last minute and said, I want to go, here's money for a table. And he said, okay, great. And then he just gave our tables away, or a table away.
I think I know what you're talking about, Roland.
No, you don't. That was a different one, and that's a very similar
No. I think I know
experience.
about that one because that one right there, I tried to get a table at, and I was told that there wasn't any available. So I doubt that's what happened.
It's a city that's almost direct. You're in Memphis, right?
I know what you're talking about.
It's a city directly in Memphis, north of you, yeah. There was there was also the incident there at your local Memphis show that Thomas Florimonte and I drove all the way up there, and they tried to put me and Dean Zachary and Thomas Florimonte all on a table, or might have been two tables. But I'm like, no, we drove all the way from Florida here to get here, and you said we each had a table, and so that's frustrating to get there, and you've got all these email exchanges between you and a convention host. I will say, and not just because he's here, we've never had this issue with Pikeville.
Absolutely.
never had the issue with Pikeville. And we took a big van up to Pikeville one year, which was a lot of fun. But anyway, so any other stories about tables or that? Because I kind of want to get to talking about setting up your actual table.
I'm always put off in the back anyway because I'm the new guy.
Well, I think these days it's not unusual that the comic creators get put in the back.
This year's been frustrating for me because, in the 90s when I was the it girl and doing 2 or 3 books a month for everybody and their dog, I was floating around a lot. And then, things fell off. And then finally this year, Wizard World said they wanted to sponsor me at all of their shows. And then COVID hit.
Yeah. So you had all these great shows you were headed to, and then
I had like 2 books, two shows a month between Wizard and RockCon and MightyCon, all through the year, and they've all been canceled.
So who else is arting tonight? I see Pete's arting. John or Aaron, are you guys?
No,
Narn?
Bobby.
No?
Not right now. No,
Okay.
I'm inking some stuff Firebrush, but I do it by hand.
Okay. So Pete, you want to share screen?
Sure.
Pop you up for a little while.
Yeah, you can just kick me off.
Oh,
Cool.
sorry.
So
yeah, Becca, we're tired of watching you draw bricks.
I feel you.
You ever get on something like that? Do you ever get tempted to use the little clone tool to like clone a whole bunch of bricks?
Yeah.
That's
what I would do. I would do that. Yeah.
If I'm like drawing it, yes, I would.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like going in and inking it, like as I'm going back in and like erasing, kind of giving it a more organic look. You want more of an organic look. You don't want a copy paste kind of
Gotcha.
feel.
So so Brett, I know that we just stuck Pete up there, but I think if I understand it correctly, you can pop some images up without kicking any of that up. We've got a couple of pictures here, Brett, that are labeled con. Look for Con Aaron and pop him up there. So what I want to talk about for a minute now is let's talk about how do you set up your table, right? Because part of the challenge as a creator, being on the creator side, is how do you set your table up? And I've been to shows where I've rearranged my table 3 or 4 times, especially those that are a little bit slow and the first day goes by and you're like, nobody looked at anything. I'm going to rearrange everything and it'll look like a new table tomorrow, So so I think the first one of you is going to pop up there is Aaron. Aaron, talk about your Brett, you can go ahead and make it really big.
I'm not sure. I can't see the exact picture. Okay. I see him drawing, but I don't see the exact picture.
I don't know how to. Do you have your messenger open, Aaron?
Yeah, I have. I have Messenger, and I could do that.
So
what? Just show me the exact. Yeah, if you could just even like get me the.
Yeah, this is the one he's showing right now.
Okay.
So yeah, so really we just kind of want to talk about some of so what you have on your table and why you made the decisions to do what you did. Barb, you'll be next.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Rose City, and I'm just gonna look at the picture on here. So if I'm staring at the screen,
Yeah.
I hope you guys just don't leave me. It's like now everyone leave the meeting. No, I actually set up the portfolio, but I try to split my table down the middle. So if you actually look at the banner, my Roscoe's my kid's book, that's one side. My Goblins comic is one side. So I actually have like two areas. Then I put my portfolio with my prints or whatever I wanted to sell in the middle. And then I have a bowl of candy. We always brought candy, which actually seems to be a big winner for some people. And then I made that banner. So I tried to make it this, like I printed the banner in the front, but yeah, I tried to have a picture. And those banners are small. I thought my banners in the back were big until I got to the convention, and I was dwarfed by these. Like you can even see the banner behind me. It's like this humongous. I'm like, okay, apparently my stuff is, but it worked.
Yeah.
But that's usually how I set things up.
I have found lately too that some folks sneak those banners up on like a crate or a tub or something to jack them up.
I actually did that. I figured I put it on some boxes or a chair. One of them. Yeah.
All right. So what's the thing on the left there? It looks like an open book.
Yeah. So the thing on my left, that's my kid's book. It's a hardback.
So it's a big hardback then.
Yeah. So and I have another one published now. So I have a kid's book, and my friend at the time was like, no, put a bunch of them down and look like they're being sold. And then I put my comic books in this little plastic stands.
I see that.
Like magazine stands you can buy at like Office Max or something. And that's what I did there. So yeah.
Cool. So we're going to go over kind of a couple of tables first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why or how you approach people. Brett, the next one is Barb convention setup. If you'll pop that up. And Barb, I think you only sent me one convention setup. You sent me pictures of the San Diego floor, but I think you only sent me one.
Yeah, that was just to give people an idea of what a big con looks like.
Yeah. So in case you don't remember which one you sent me, there's yours.
Okay. I'm also watching it on my iPad. I've got two screens up.
Good. All right, so talk to us a little bit about what you've got on, what's on your table, and why you chose to put the things there that you did.
Okay, first of all, I wanted to have something a little bright, so my banner was yellow, and I wanted to show all of the companies I've worked, well, not all, a few of the companies that I've worked for. So I have the logos for DC, Marvel, Silverline, Malibu, and what I do in Inker. So that's what my banner is. And then I've got my prints also hanging. On the table, I have the books I'm currently selling, and those are you can see them on the left-hand side. Those were the cat and mouse books. And those are actually in a very nice portable little stand, which is actually a dish stand that you can buy from IKEA. It's a little, it's a dish rack. And it breaks down into this tiny little box. It telescopes out, and it makes a great book stand.
Oh, that's cool.
I have on the far right-hand side, I've got a box of old comics from 1989 on. I always got a ton of comp copies.
So these are like your back stock.
Yeah, my back stock of stuff that you can buy if you want to. On the table itself, I've got portfolios with original art for sale.
Okay.
I have clearly indicated what my costs are, and I've got a print of Cat and Mouse, which is available here, so that you know what I'm currently working on. And I've got little giveaways, which is the Make Mine Silverline.
The bracelets.
Bracelets.
Oh, I got mine here somewhere.
And at the last convention, this was Cleveland. I can tell it was Cleveland. That was Wizard World Cleveland, because you see right there on the table a little bottle of hand sanitizer. That was the last convention I went to before everything shut down.
This is what I carry. BJ fixed me up a little bottle of this, and I carry this little hand sanitizer with me. It literally goes in my little cash bag that I take with me.
Now, what you don't see is tucked behind there is a cash box and a PayPal app that I use to swipe. I can't tell you how much I love that PayPal. It's a one-time deal. You purchase it. It's like $25 one-time price, and you can either do a chip reader or swipe it, and it dumps money right into your PayPal account.
Yeah.
I use the Square device. You
That's
heard
what
of
I
the
use.
Square? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I learned.
All right, Brett, pop up con rolling there. I'll talk about mine a little bit. So so for a long time, I did not. I mean, just books. You know, I've always felt that writers were a little kind of challenged at conventions because artists can always bring these big portfolios to have art that they can look at, and so writers were always a little bit challenged. But I found this rack. This is about the third rack that I tried, and I like this one because it will flatten. Now it won't shrink down anything smaller than that, so I end up with this big square. But the other two that I had used before this, they would not even collapse at all, and that was tough carrying just a big box around. But I really like this rack because you can see I can fit several rows of comics on it. Now this was a couple years ago. Well, this is probably 2 years ago. Where because you can see Cat and Mouse is out, but I still have my tiny banner, and I'm completely out of the Wizard of Oz and Huckleberry Finn now. But I like the rack because what it does is it gets the books up in the customer's eyes as they walk by. I found a lot of times they're either going to be doing one of two things. They're either going to be looking down and not at me at all, or they're going to be looking back at the banners as they walk by and not see anything at all. And so I like the rack because it gets the comics kind of up in their eyes. But another thing I like about the rack is you can see, can't really see anything here, but it gives me space on the table that I can actually put some stuff, right? So I keep like behind the rack, I keep like some pens, some signature pens, the ink, the Sharpies. I keep a tablet back there. I have my business cards back there. When rather than just having them out, making a mess on the table, I kind of keep them behind the rack. So it gives me a little space there that I can kind of use as a table, right? And then what I like to try to do is spread books from one side to the other side so that they're always there. I do try to, as you can see the cat and mouse there, I do try to put two stacks, like two little stacks of the newest thing that I'm trying to sell. And I also, I must not have been completely finished setting up the table here because there's like the gap, there's the notebook, and then there's the two other books in front. And I like to have them side by side by side by side. Plus, I put that notebook up front for an email list. I did not used to do that until I think Barb is the one said, let's do this. And so I put a notebook out there and started collecting email addresses. This is from the Kissimmee show that I'll be doing again that has not been canceled yet for August. So the last I talked to him, he said, nope, we're still on. It's in August, so fingers crossed. Oh, and this is the one, Mike, that was on the same day as Pikeville.
Okay. I wondered.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah. But before Pikeville changed, there was Pikeville, and then there was Kissimmee, and then Pikeville changed, and well, I had already committed.
Yeah, we didn't change; we got changed.
No, yeah, yeah, and that's kind of what happened to Daytona Beach Comic Con. Is I think the university kind of changed them.
Yeah.
And so he just said we'll do it next year, and yeah, so it's kind of a bummer. Okay, let's see. I think I saw another question before I get into the next question for y'all. So Royal Airships, what's up, Royal Airships? He says, all right, so let me, Jose Fuentes says in Orlando, yes, the Kissimmee show for me was the Kissimmee in the Orlando area. Brett, you can take my con picture down now. And I'll be there in August. But Royal Airships asked a couple of questions. He says, how much does a table cost on average? And then he says, what kind of swag is good to have on hand? Do you have a max amount of dollars to spend on it? do you set a max amount of dollars to spend on it? Anybody want to address the table cost? I mean, I have an idea.
You know, it actually depends on the convention for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to smaller conventions, you can get them for like $100, 75. If I go to Rose City, which is Portland's biggest one, I think they were like 250. I think now they're 300.
Yeah.
Because it's already spendy. I'm just always like, you know, I'm hoping I break even.
Yeah,
but you're compensating for the amount of people that are supposed to show up. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
I think
See,
the
I-
last time I paid for a table was a few years ago, was $350 for a Wizard World here in Madison.
Yeah.
All the local shows comp me, so I have no idea.
I mean, I've done shows where I've paid 100, well, probably equates to $150, and I've not made anything close to that back. It's been that bad.
Yeah.
And I've done shows where I paid 300 for a table, and I've smashed that. It's just,
I've never lost money. Let's put
Well,
it that way.
it's. I will say this: it really is always a crapshoot. There's. I mean, obviously, if we had a guarantee, we would all be in a different business because we would be prognosticators, right?
Yeah.
There's no way to know what a show is going to do beforehand. There's just. I mean, you can speculate, and if you've been to shows regular, you can kind of say, well, you know, for the last 3 years, I've done X amount of dollars, so I'm probably going to do around that this year.
I think the worst show I made a $45 profit for like 2 days, and the best show I made probably a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I know that there are some smaller shows, like little one-day shows, in our area that I know I've seen tables. I've seen them advertise tables for like $20 for creators. But those are the kind of things that are held in the back room of a comic shop that have, you know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, something that you want to keep in mind, for those out there that are talking about getting a table, is that you can't just count the cost of the table into your expenses. You have to count the cost of the gas or the airplane ticket. You have to count the cost of your food and your lodgings. So everything that you spend, you keep track of. Now, I keep track of them because I take them off of my taxes as a business expense. So I keep a receipt for the gas money that I spend and any lodgings that I do. If your table expenses, anything that you spend to get to the con or to make the con happen, your swag that you give away, all of that goes into the cost of your convention. And then with the profit, you take, or the money that you make, you take off of that what you spent, and then whatever's left over is your profit. That's what you actually made.
And I mean, to give you a reference, when I used to get tables at that second Genesis Con I talked about earlier. They were $40 for a table for one day.
Yeah.
Now, when I paid the $300, that's a 3-day convention. So if you break it down, that's like $100 a day. So.
Yeah, we charge 50. So besides the show, we try to be economical for exhibitors and the like. We think we want more people on the floor.
Do you usually do 1-day conventions or more like weekend conventions?
The last one was a day and a half. We did a Friday afternoon show and a Saturday, but we charged the same. And like I said, it seems to be very popular. And most cons around here are a little bit more expensive, about 60 to 75 for the same table. And then the bigger shows are 150 to 200. But yeah, we we're I didn't think we have too bad a crowd for a $50 table.
No, it's good. And I will say this, in my entire career of doing shows, the best shows I've ever done have been 1-day shows in New Orleans. And here's my theory as to why, and I'm sure Mike has more experience, so he can probably address this more. But this particular show charged $1 at the door. Now, admittedly, these were in the early 90s, and convention prices weren't what they are now, but they were still like, it cost you $40, $50, $60 to go to a show, right? They charged you $1 to get into the door. And I asked the convention, because I knew the guy who ran it, I asked the guy about it. I said, so why do you all these other shows, they're charging, 20, 25, $30. You're charging $1. I said, can you tell me why? He says, well, I'm also an exhibitor in there. And he goes, and my opinion is this: if he said these, and he said kids. He said these kids who come have a very limited budget. He goes, if they've got $20 and I take 15 from them at the door, because they've only got $5 to blow at my table, right? He says, if I take a buck from them, he goes, they got $19. They can spend some stuff with me, spend some stuff with you. He goes, I just want them in. I want them in the door. He says, but he said, and I said, well, why don't you just offer it free? He said, well, my experience is when he said, what we've tried to do free shows before, but for some reason, people perceive those as not having any value.
Yeah.
There's nothing there if it's for free. So we charge $1 in the door to get in the door, and then they have a lot more money. This is one of those things that was, like, I don't remember the exact hours, but like a 9 to 5 kind of thing. Literally no time to get up and use the bathroom. That's how many people came through there. And was it because it was $1? I don't know. I don't have any clue. I don't know. I can't answer that.
But it is helpful because I've
Yeah.
actually, I always have a hard time, and they charge, like, I think Rose City is $40 to get in for for one day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, but if somebody comes with like $60, spends $40, and then gets something signed by a celebrity, when they finally come into the main hall looking comics, a lot of them have spent their wad. They just come with the browse. Yeah.
Eric Dotson. Hey, Eric Dotson says that Dragon Con is $400 plus for a table. So yeah, that is the thing. And when I hear someone say $300, I think, man, how many books do I have to sell at $5 a piece?
Yeah.
Just to make a $300 table, right?
Yeah.
Again, because without, like, you artists, you can take original art and you can sell. I think it was Daytona last year. Tommy ended up selling, and I don't know how much he made, but Tommy ended up selling like 8 pages in the last hour of 8 pages of original art in the last hour of the show. And he goes, well, that more than paid for me here, which, it was Daytona. So, but he did great, but because he sold some original artwork.
Yeah.
And so
it's hard. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just say it's hard when you're selling books,
Mm-hmm.
to make that happen.
Especially your own stuff. If you're selling your own unique properties, it's almost twice as hard because nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I think is the reason, we've talked on this show, on our shows before about the pitches. And this is the reason I think those are so important. You have to have your pitch down. So one of the things that the Royal Airships asked, he said, what kind of swag is good to have on hand? Any thoughts for that kind of thing? Chocolate,
yeah. Candy works. Strangely enough, now I sell a kid's book, so I've gotten lots of nothing draws the kids in more than candy, and they're like, oh, look at the book, and so I've actually gotten sales that way too. So I'm actually the man in the white van with the word candy on the side. But it seems to work. People seem to like it. Of course, I spend most of the time eating the candy, and then I've got a sugar high, and so.
Yeah. So there's a local. Speaking of sugar highs, there's a local creator down here, Walter Osley, who does a really good book called Shiver Bureau, and I've come up to his table and caught him literally falling asleep before. I'm like, what are you, hey, dude? And he goes, I ate too many cookies. And the sugar, because I've offered him sweets before, and he goes, oh no, I'll fall asleep. And I have seen it actually happen.
Poor guy.
I think for me, the biggest problem about swag at your table is the expense of the swag.
Yeah.
You can't, when someone says, well, you can't give out comic books left and right, because you're giving out, $3 per comic. Prints are the same way. The prints don't cost as much, but you can't really just hand those out, because that's just like handing them money. And so many people will come by your table just to get the free thing and not look at anything else.
Or not buy anything.
Or not buy anything. I tend to prefer to have the stuff on the table, and when someone engages with me, then I'm more inclined to say, hey, do you want to make my Silverline bracelet, right? But if I don't just want to hand them something free as they walk by, because they're going to take it and throw it in their bag. And then I'm just thinking, well, there's 25 cents that I've just thrown away.
And they're
You
probably
know?
never going to look at. They'll probably
No.
just keep it in the bag and toss it.
But
Yeah.
tell you what is popular, I found business cards. Everyone loves taking a free business card.
Yeah.
They never hear
Yeah.
from them that everyone will take a free
What
business
the
card.
heck?
Now
right?
I have
What the
two
heck?
sets. I have two sets of business cards. I have the business cards that I give out to professionals, which has got my
Yeah.
cell phone, my email address, blah blah blah. And then I have a set of business cards that I give away at my table because I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry
Yeah.
having my personal cell phone number. But I do have my websites
Those are
and
very pretty, Roland.
Good idea.
Thank
and
you.
other
Designed by
information.
Curtis.
What I do, my Deviant Art page, so they can go and look at my work,
Nice.
stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely have one set of business cards for conventions
Yep.
to giveaways, and one set for professional use.
Yeah, I'm still going through my business cards, and I print pictures in the back, so my information in the front and the back's a picture.
Yeah.
But I've actually thought, because they're relatively cheap to make, making like
Yes.
multiple pictures in the back, you can actually create your business cards as trading cards. I've seen people do that. You
I
can
have
choose
actually
what picture
done
you want
that
on the back.
because of a sense, because my cards, the backs of my cards, there's one,
Yeah.
there's another, and whoop, that was the same. Oh, and then there's the last one. Right?
Yeah, see, that stuff's fun because
So,
then you can
yeah.
like people like want to look through it and get theirs. Yeah.
Yeah, but the other
And
thing
see,
is that
there's-
I've seen people pick up all three of them. I'm like, you don't need three of them. What the heck?
Yeah, no doubt.
It's like
Now the
it's
back
the
of
same
mine,
stuff.
the back of mine have got these smart doohinkies where you can
Yeah.
scan the phone. It'll take you
Yeah.
right straight to the website for my portfolio and my experience.
QR codes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
QR codes. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I think those are a great idea. I think business cards are probably, as Pete says, I think those are probably the most sensible, economical thing that a creator can print and have have give away at the table freely. Just put your social media links on there. Put your name and your social media links. They come by, they're going to take it up. And they may or may not chase down your links. But if they do, then they've chased down your links and they've got a little card, I don't know that putting your phone number and your email, your mailing
No.
address and all that kind of, I don't know that that's the best thing to do, but
Yeah.
is that what you've collected?
Yep.
Business
Business cards.
Are we going to go there?
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we going to go there? Oh my gosh, Barb. Oh, come on.
We're gonna hear the beep beep of Roland backing in his truck. Beep beep.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one stack. Okay. Just give me a second. Here's another stack. All right. Here's another stack. This one's held together. Whoop. This one's held together by a clip. Right. They keep falling. I think I can pick all these up. Here's this stack. Oh, wait, this doesn't count. Sorry, this is my little notepad here. Now, this is what I used to use. You'll appreciate this, Barb and Curtis. This is actually my Rolodex. From the Malibu days. When I left, I just yanked all the cards out and took them with me. But this is actually my Rolodex from Malibu. And then I also have these two things, which is how I used to keep all of my business cards, right? I used to keep them all in little things like this. So, you open them up and you can see a card. Yeah, I don't keep them like that anymore, as you can see, because I have way too many. I think I found that I've got, I had a Terry Collins, Gaijin Studios. I found a Jim Shooter card in here. Lynn Wein. Steve Wilhite, Jim Shooter. Found a Jim Shooter card. So
It's funny. You can also, if you don't want to give away swag, I make a lot of swag to give away when somebody buys my book. If you buy my kids' book, you get stickers and a bookmark. And then I made a print of my comic book Goblins. It didn't sell well, but once I started saying, like, look, if you buy 4 issues, I'll give you the print. Then I started getting sales. So yeah, people like that too.
Yeah,
that's a neat idea.
It is a neat idea.
Recently,
and I'm talking like within the last year, I went ahead and I think probably at Daytona is when I started it. I went ahead and made up some prints from some of the Silverline stuff, and I had someone approach me later on, and they said, "Why you?" Because I think we talked about this on a, I don't know if it was after hours or on one of our streams, but you know, I've got $5 on the prints, right? And because for me, I'm not trying to make money on the prints. I'm trying to get fans to pick up a copy and put it on their wall. I want them proudly displaying Silverline titles and artwork on their wall in the same way that they would, you know, Spider-Man or Batman. And if they come by my table and they see, you know, I love you, Barb, but if they see a Divinity print for $20, and then they see the guy right over there who's got a Spider-Man print for $20, they're probably going to opt for Spider-Man unless they're a fan of ours, right?
Absolutely.
So you know, at $5 a print, I'm just trying to get them to put it on the wall. Now, what I started doing is like, okay, if you buy a book, you can get any of the prints for $1.
Yeah.
Again, I want them to have Silverline prints on their walls, framed, so their friends can see it when they come over after quarantine is over, you know,
Yeah.
and they can see it and say, "What is that? I want that. That looks really cool." You know,
Well, Roland, I remember back when we were at Malibu, you know, and I was your assistant. I mean, there was. Do you remember Rob Running Water? We had this. We had this group of fans that were just so hardcore. And Roland made sure anytime a new poster came in or a bookmark, whatever, I would send it to them in a manila envelope, and the brand loyalty that we were getting out of people for that, you know. And it was just one of my regular job tasks. I mean, it was really, Roland impressed upon me how important it was to get these things there, because if it's on their wall, they're going to see it, they're going to talk about it, and it was just an ongoing thing. We were really good to the fans.
Yeah. And I still believe that to this day. I still do, because I think, again, the brand loyalty, I think that you know, once we get there, you know, we're going to have people that are going to be like that, you know, and we've already got some. I mean, the family is growing. You can see it on some of our streams, you know. Much love to some of those out there. They go, "Oh man," you know, so we've already got some of that, and so I like that idea. So how do you engage with someone? Okay, if you're a professional sitting at the table, how do you engage with the fans, the customers, the people who come by? John, how about you?
Well, I mean,
you're alive.
Yeah, I'm alive.
No, I was saying that's what you say to them. You know, Zachary is alive.
No. It all depends. I mean, sometimes, like if it's cosplay or something like that, and that kind of stuff, you know, I compliment the cosplay.
Yeah.
Try to kind of. I'm very socially awkward, so I try to get creative with how I actually, like, you know, communicate with folks. I have to be careful if they ask the same questions that I hear all the time, not to get snippy. Did you draw all this? Yeah.
How long did this take you?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you do these for free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We draw my dog. We draw my
Yeah.
You should do tattoos. Have you thought about doing
Oh,
tattoos?
yeah.
Oh, I can't count how many times. I always tell them, bend over. I'll do one for you right now.
Can I get you to ink my pencils? I don't have any money, but I'd love to have your inks on them.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually been an apprentice in a tattoo shop, so but I think just try to find out what they're into and kind of try to figure out a way to mold it to get their attention on something that I've done.
Yeah. I'm very conversational like you. I will compliment a cosplay or, you know, hey, what you're doing, but they look very conversational. And one of the other things I do too, if people walk by, I always have stuff for people to flip through, look through. So I always tell them you can touch and flip through anything you want. Once you and I can't, and it's funny how many times I've seen that breaking the ice. They'll be looking and like, well, like you can look pick it up, look at it. You can look at anything, and then immediately once they start looking at it, then you can get a sale. But that I've seen that more, like inviting them, like, no, engage with my booth. They just don't want to buy and look at it.
Yeah, I'll try to.
I had to teach myself to be social because I'm not naturally like that.
Yeah.
Well, don't you hiss at customers?
Oh, yeah. And I mean,
most creators are not. Yeah.
You have to force yourself to be sociable if you're an introvert, and you have to actually teach yourself how to do that. And first few conventions, I couldn't bring myself to look somebody in the face, and you just have to finally try to catch their eye, smile at them, say, "Oh, I like your T-shirt," or something like that. Just anything to get them to turn their head and look in your direction. Yeah. And once you've got them looking at you, then they go, "Oh, what is this?" You know?
Yeah.
And then you can engage them in conversation or say, "Oh, feel free to look through my stuff." But on the opposite side of the scale, I was at a convention recently. And the guy next to me was just like so over the top. He was practically leaping over the table and dragging them into this table and forcing them to look at his stuff. "Hey, I have a comic book. You have to see it. Come here. And I'm like, "Dude, you're just gonna alienate them, and you're gonna push them away from my table too. So shut up."
Yeah, I had a guy doing that. I was, selling kids' books. There was a guy about 2 tables down selling kids' books, and he would literally hold the book out over the table, and just like people walk by, he'd like follow them like in their face or whatever. And I'm like, did he sell books? Yeah, but are those people going to come back to his table? No. And I don't want to, people like, yeah, but I got the money. It's like, yeah, but you're not going to get that repeat sale. Because if somebody did that to me, I may take it or whatever, but I'm not coming back. I'm staying away from your table. I don't want to do bots like that. So.
Do any of you folks, just kind of, I'm curious, do you kind of pick and choose who you do it, or is it just anybody going by, you're going to try and kind of make that?
Anybody walking by, you got to try to get them to make eye contact with you. That's the biggest thing. And it's just either smiling or say hi, have a good day, or anything like that. Just say hi.
Yeah.
Just anything to make them turn and look.
I've actually found out that if you got a whole lot of laughter going on in an area at a convention, it gravitates people over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So if you're like, I try to like carry on conversations with folks around me, and try to joke around or whatnot. And
You also have a loud and contagious laugh.
Sure.
Well, I've been to shows with you, and I've heard you laugh. I can hear you laugh from a row over.
There's the opposite too. The one of the dangers is strike a conversation, say hi to them, but then you have many guys who come over and start talking to you about their stuff or what they're into, carrying on a conversation, and I see all these customers pass by that I can't. So it's always that catch-22. And I mean, I don't mind talking to them, but sometimes
they want to be your best friend.
You want to be your best friend like that, and I'm just like, nah.
Yeah, and they want to tell you this great new idea that they have for a series, and they go through the entire thing.
And you're sitting there the same probably as me. Is like, what do you want me to do about that? That's cool.
Yeah, well, I think that's where you have to learn, and it's not easy, but that's I think where you have to learn to say, hey, I don't mind, I don't mind carrying on the conversation, but would you mind shifting over a little bit so the other people coming up, can see my books as well?
Yeah, if it's somebody who's got a table, he should know that you're there to sell stuff too. So they should know if somebody walks up to kind of step off.
A lot of times they don't have a table. They're just someone coming by wanting to talk. And I'm kind of like Aaron. I don't mind talking to anybody, but if you're standing in front of my table the whole time, people are going to walk past without looking. And so if you want to sit there and talk to me, get over to the side so people can still come by. And if I engage in those people, don't try to talk over to me engaging with those people. I'll get back to you just as soon as they're gone. But
you can get super lucky and the two customers will start talking to each other and you, and then you can, and I've had that happen before too. It's like customer 1, me, customer 2, talk, so.
I'm lucky. I used to be a waitress for years, so I treat it a lot of times like I'm waiting tables, but instead of going to different tables, they're coming to me.
Yeah,
so I just try to welcome them like that. Just
do you have a
politely.
notepad to take down the order and stuff too?
I do. I'm like, how do you like your eggs?
I know.
Runny.
Yes.
Mike, were you about to jump in?
Oh, I was just listening.
Oh, okay. It looked like you were like, I want to say this. I want to say this. What about so how do you? Okay, so we talked about engaging them. So how are there any things that you say or avoid saying, or you intentionally say in order to get them to engage with you?
I think you just got to be friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Becca laughed at something.
Well, I just like instantly thought it's like kind of like asking somebody's like, how do you get a guy to like me? It's like, you don't know. There's like people, everybody's different. So like you kind of have to like take that quick judgment and like try to get the eye contact. Like, how am I going to interact with this person like right away? And like the first few seconds that you see them to try to get them over.
Okay, so this leads me to a question then. Okay, I know we live in a society that we're not supposed to be prejudgmental and all that kind of stuff, but do you, when you see someone approaching your table, do you go through a mental list, do you look at them and say that person's not going to buy my comic?
Oh, you can usually tell.
You can usually tell, yeah.
Yeah. You can tell who's not going to. I do phrase certain things like instead of when I'm people talking about the book, I've noticed that instead of like like the books are $10, you got $10, you can have the book. People don't like to be pressured, so I always just say like, if you're interested, the books are only $10. And you use the word only. If you say only $10, mentally it makes them go like, well, that's even cheaper. Dumb enough using the word only actually does that too. So yeah.
The only people that I don't actually try to engage and I make a prejudgment on are cosplayers who are really, really into the cosplay. And you can tell that they don't even have a purse on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not there to spend money.
Yeah.
Or you don't want where the money's coming from.
If I reach into their crotch for it, then no.
I know.
I'm not gonna,
you have pockets,
I got the
right?
spray hand sanitizer. Money, man.
But I mean, I've seen several.
Money's money.
Yeah.
I've seen cosplayers who are totally. I mean, they have spent a lot of money and a lot of time on and that's all they're there for. And they have no bags. They're not carrying any bags. They're not carrying a purse. I can't see where they're going to put a billfold.
Or a comic book, right?
Or comic book. So
where are they going to put it?
It's just useless to even try to engage those people.
Yeah, we have one cosplayer. Oh,
that,
sorry,
Mike?
go ahead.
Oh, I've never sold to a cosplayer. They've gone by the table. I've never seen anybody sell to a cosplayer. So
nope, me either.
Yeah.
I have.
Oh, Becca, you have?
I mean, not like a professional cosplayer, but like somebody who like dresses up for it. But I feel like a lot of what you really need to look for is like anybody who has a bag. Like you're kind of looking for people who you see they've already bought things. So not necessarily, yes, they have the money or like they are willing to spend the money. So those are usually the people I try to engage. Not the people who are just walking by with nothing. Like people with backpacks, something like that, you try to engage with.
Yeah, we have one guy cosplays as some guy from a video game, and he comes almost every convention. And I see him every convention, and I don't think he buys anything. He plays a radio on his costume as some built-in radio. So he plays all this like 60s and 70s music, and he sits around and he'll snap his fingers and dance. And I'm just like, so you see, I mean, to each their own, but it seems weird to me to spend the money to go into convention, to not want to buy anything or look around, but to just show off your costume. But that's just me. So, I mean.
Yeah, I've actually seen some cosplayers, if you pay attention, somebody following close behind that's actually got the bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The assistant, yes.
Eric, you got to explain this. Eric Dotson wrote, we have a system of using each other to scrape them away from the table. And I will say, I want to know what this system is. This sounds really interesting. I will say that, cosplay, I don't ever plan to sell to a cosplayer, but for all the reasons that have been mentioned here, because I just don't think they're there to buy. But having said that, they don't bother me at shows. I've seen some people like, I hate cosplayers. I hate, they don't bother me at shows, except when they stop right in front of my table and begin to take 1,000 pictures.
Yep.
because
Yep.
because what they've done is they've done just like we were talking about earlier, is they parked themselves right in front of my table, and no one can now see my table. It's like, I don't mind if you want to take pictures, go to the end of the aisle to take pictures.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and backing up on that a little bit, you're right. I don't mind cosplayers, and you were talking about how to get somebody to stop at your table. If there's little kids that are cosplaying,
mhm.
I will ask if they would mind if I took their picture, and that stops them in front of my table, and it stops their parents
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
in front of my table. And I will take photos on my phone all day long of little kids cosplaying.
Yeah.
What do the parents say when you hand the picture to them and say that'll be $10?
You'd be surprised at how many times I will do that, and then the parents will say, "Can
Well, so
I
what do you
get a
do?
picture of you with my child?" And they'll
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
the child
yeah.
come back behind the table and take a photo of us, and then they'll look at what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually don't have an issue with politely asking cosplayers to move if they do that. Like, listen, I'm trying to sell things. Would you mind doing this
Yeah.
somewhere else?
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with doing that, but then again, that also goes to me being a waitress and having to kick people out. Like,
Yeah.
so like that to me is like I've been in customer service so long that it's second nature to me.
Yeah.
I've only had to
Yeah.
threaten to do a truffle shuffle once.
That's a threat. Ugh.
I have a friend
Yeah.
that went to a convention in Tokyo, like an anime and manga one, and they actually have a whole wing area where people can do the photos, but they are not allowed to do any photos in front of the convention center or inside the main floor.
That's
Wow.
nice.
Really?
Completely
Yeah.
dedicated space. And my friend said it was awesome. For the people that want to look at the cosplay, you go right there. Everybody's there taking photos
Yeah.
and all that.
That
But
sounds
for everybody
awesome.
else, nice flow of traffic, and everybody's respectful. You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thought.
That sounds very cool. Yeah. Would that more American shows do that?
I will say that sometimes if a cosplayer, if they're not dressed well, like if there's a lot of skin showing and we all know the cosplayers are talking about, I will, if they come to my table, I'll try to engage them, but I always feel kind of like, I'm like, hey, come to my table. I don't know. I always feel, it always puts me a little off ease. You know, if they're wearing a cosplay that's somewhat revealing and they wear a coat or whatever, but I don't know. I've had a lot of teenagers that dress in some of the costumes from anime or whatever, and anime costumes are very so a little awkward sometimes when
Yeah.
they encounter
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. It's funny. I've seen cosplay rules at different conventions about weapons, and actually the two things about weapons and don't be sparsely covered.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how they worded it, but there were really kind of only the two rules. Yeah. So so what else about conventions? I just noticed the clock is at 10:37 here. So anything that I didn't ask that you're like, Roland, why didn't you ask this, man?
I
About
have weird
conventions?
convention stories. I went to a convention in Salem 2 years ago where the power went out. Freak accident. Car hit a pole with the transformer, knocked out
Great.
power. It was a one-day convention, but I was lucky because we were in this big convention center and there was this huge doors that opened outside. My booth was right next to the door, letting in sunlight so people could see my stuff. But everyone else, there were people with their camera lights, like shining lights on their table so people can see. It was just, it was horrible. People, I
That's
actually
weird.
talk to people and they go like, "You were at that convention?" Like apparently it's famous now. So yeah.
That's
That
funny.
actually, I totally forgot. I was at another convention as a fan, but it was so insane because there was this massive storm. So a 3-day convention got all grouped up into one day.
Oh wow.
And I think it was a villain con or something like that. I don't honestly remember because like walking up where you had to like climb these massive piles of snow just to get into the convention, and it was just like everyone that they could get in there was in there, and it was just like it was like a quarter of the size of New York City Comic Con with what felt like the same amount of people.
Oh good
It
God.
was horrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Good
have a
thing you were
little,
behind your table.
No, that I was a fan at. I think
Okay.
I think my friend and I lasted maybe like 20 minutes before
Good
like
grief.
we can't do this
Yeah.
anymore.
I have some advice. If you're a professional going to a convention, try to reach out ahead of time and sign up for as many panels
Yeah.
as possible, because you want to get your face out there. You want to
Mm.
get in front of an audience so people get to know you. And it's a great way to meet other professionals, to network. You
Yeah.
also have an opportunity after hours to network with other professionals.
Uh,
If you're not a professional, take this opportunity not just to go there to buy or to hang out on the floor, but go to seminars, go to panels, because you can learn a lot from listening to pros talk.
Yeah.
So make use of everything available at the convention. Don't just
Yeah.
focus on one thing. Don't just focus on that one celebrity that you're going to go see,
Yeah.
or that book that you want to buy. Take advantage of all the panels and the seminars that are available to you.
And
Yeah.
it's not unusual that
Question.
at those panels, you can often talk to the panelist after the panel
Yes.
a lot easier than you can actually on the floor.
Mm.
Mhm.
Becky, you said you had a question.
Yeah, as you sign up for those panels?
Mm-hmm.
I've never
You can-
done it, so
Well, if you know the organizers, you can put your name out there and say, hey, email them, say I am willing to be on any panel that you think I might be uh, good to be on. I've done that many times, I've been contacted just as often to be on them, but I've also turned right around and I knew the people who were running the convention and say, please use me on any panels that you think I might
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good
Hmm.
advice.
yeah.
I've never known any. I don't know anyone to do that, but I'd be curious. I got to find out who's in charge, and then eventually you can run into people, know somebody, get you on a panel.
Well,
I
and
always.
I usually try
Yeah.
to pitch the panels when I go to a show. I usually reach out to the convention organizers and say, hey, I can certainly, if there's more Silverline creators, I can put together a Silverline panel, or hey, let me know who's on I can put together a panel about writing. I can put together a panel about independent
Yeah.
comics, especially if I already have an idea about who their guest list is, then I can say, hey, I know these people here, and I can put together a panel. Any of these people would be good on it. And so, yeah, it's
Smaller
you can,
conventions will often ask the people who they know are going to be
Yes.
their guests, do you have any ideas for panels?
yeah,
And then you can put your own ideas forth.
right.
Oh,
Interesting.
that's cool. I got to get big enough to become, be a guest instead of the guy who pays for the table.
Mike, how do you guys? How does Pikeville put together panels?
Well, last year was the first time we did them.
Sure was. Yeah, I forgot about that.
For people wanted to see them. There was kind of a lot of interest once we actually did them. But as far as topics, I'm always from the point of view of seeing what the creator has to say.
Yeah.
And I think most people that come to cons that go to panels typically want to hear ideas on creating comics, or where do the
Yeah.
ideas come from? Where do they, did you go to school to draw?
Right.
Do you, what kind of software do you use to do the coloring and that kind of thing? And I think that's kind of where we start at, and kind of get an idea of what does the audience, what are they trying to be informed about? And that's kind of, like I said, that's where I started with.
Yeah, I found that they don't often want to hear as much about the books as we want them to want.
Yeah.
They want to hear more about the process, than
how you make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't tell me about cat and mouse. How did you come up with the idea for the cat and mouse? How did you make it, happen? And it's like, but I want to tell you about it so that you'll go buy it, right? Anything else?
If I could just I like what Barbara's saying about kind of trying to get a full lay of the land. And it's something I always have to remind myself at cons is, manage your expectations, but be open to the possibilities, because cons are just amazing. The things that end up happening, you may have your intended purpose while you're there, but you may see a panel and hear something, or, like I went to a Dave Gibbons panel once, and it was just insane because he said something as an artist that just blew me away. He said, art isn't about replicating something. He says it's about how you see things. He said even at his level of experience, he says he has this catalog of faces and bodies and props and things, but he just recycles it all the time. And he said even him as an artist, he's trying to break that down. And when he looks at things or just let's say tries to see things for what they really are. And I mean, that little nugget of information just blew me away, just totally informed how I see art, you know. And that's what's so great about conventions, those little moments, you know.
Yeah. I think conventions are obviously, because you know what we do is we sit in our studios, our rooms, our desk or whatever. That's where we do our work. What we do is a very much a solo adventure, right? I mean, we work alone at our desk, and we work best alone, right? It's like, not that we don't want people around us. We're not complaining because we want to be alone and do our thing. But you know, for me personally, I think these streams have been good for me because this is a way to get to, you know, sort of hang out with others of like mind. But I think conventions are a lot that way. I look forward to the conventions, obviously to promote the works, but I look forward to conventions to see other creative people, to see and say hello to them, and hang out with them, and you know, probably go out to grab a dinner with them, to talk shop, as it were, and you know, swap comic stories and comic making stories, and that's one of the things that I really look forward to at conventions. And so you know, part of the thing that we really teach at Full Sail, hey, business cards, that's right, we really teach at Full Sail is networking, because you know, there is the truth that a lot of creative people don't like, and you know, I'll say, even, you know, even as long as I've been doing it, it's like I don't really like it either. But the truth of the matter is, people want to work with people they know, and so it is all about who you know. Yes, you've got to be able to do the thing that you're doing. So you've got to be able to draw, you've got to be able to write, you've got to be able to letter, whatever that is. You've got to be able to do that, yes. But, you know, I guarantee you, artist with talent at 90%, artist A with talent at 90%, artist B with talent at 90%, equal, everything equal. I know this person, guess who I'm going to want to work with? I'm going to want to work with this person because I know them, right? Well, assuming that I know them in the positive, right? There's a couple of people I know that no, I'm not working with them. We won't mention those names. But you know, so part of what Full Sail always preaches is network. It's all about getting out and networking. And you know, I used to have, as part of my class, once a month I would have comic book writers, because it's a writing class. I would have comic book writers answer questions from my students, and then at the end I would ask them to give a bit of advice. And I will say, almost unanimously, and slightly worded differently, as if you know who Frank Thierry is, you'll know how his language, right? But basically the advice was always, don't be a jerk. Because nobody wants to work with the jerk. They just, you know, they just don't. They want to work with people who are fun. I mean, it's comic books, for Pete's sake, right? I mean, I got to be careful saying that now that we have an actual Pete, right?
I know.
For Pete's sake.
That's Cubic School. That's literally the first thing they teach you is
day one
don't be a
in school.
jerk.
Really?
Morning one. Don't be a jerk.
Well, they have a more colorful way of saying it, but yeah.
So did Frank Thierry, but yeah, the first day, huh? Wow, that's pretty interesting.
I don't know about Pete, but yeah, my first day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Fernando came in and that was it.
Yeah, I go to Portland. It has a lot of the networking, the meetup sites. I go to a lot of meetups and stuff. There's a lot of ones in Portland that are for art and stuff, and I go to a lot of non comic book ones. Most of mine are just regular artists, graphic designers, whatever. But you never know where opportunity is going to lie.
Right.
And it also helps if you're introverted, go out and start meeting people who are into art, and it starts to break it down. I've become less introverted. I've become much more out, a little more extroverted, and it helps at a convention to just calms you down. So I'm not so nervous meeting people at conventions and stuff. So yeah, you got to get out there and practice.
Yeah.
And you got to get there and practice with people. People physical.
The first San Diego Comic-Con I went to, every 2 times a day, especially at the end of the day, I'd go back to my room and have a panic attack.
Wow, that's bad.
I hated it. But I got used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my family laughs at me when I say this, but I and you guys may laugh too because of streaming. But Brett, man, that was not nice of you.
That's called timing.
Ouch! Ouch!
I know. Brett says nothing, but then ding.
Oh,
Zinger.
Yeah.
bomb.
And the thing you don't know is no one on the stream could hear that, right?
Oh,
They didn't
yeah.
hear Brett, right?
Oh,
Anyway, I am an introvert, but when I tell people that, they're like, oh no, you're not an introvert. I'm like, no, but I am, unless you got me talking about comic books. When you put me in the world of comic books, I'm not really an introvert because that's my world. That's where I feel comfortable. That's where I feel that the people can speak my language. You take me out of that situation, and yeah, I'm a total introvert. But
Is that why I'm missing Con so much?
you missing, yeah, I think so. But let's just going back to what we're talking about. Let's just look at the stream, okay? So Curtis and Barb, I've known for years and years and years, right? When when Silverline first was kicking up, talking with Dean says, hey, Barb's been doing a lot of inking with me. I'm like, hey, I've known Barb for a long time. I hadn't talked to her in a while. I've known her for a long time. Let's reach out. It happened because we knew each other. Getting ready to build Silverline, I reach out to Curtis. Same thing. Known Curtis since the 90s. Same with Mike. I've known Mike for since the late 90s. Mike and I had never met up until recently, face to face. But the same thing. I reach out to Mike. Hey, this is what we're going to do. John, I meet John through Dean Zachary, right? Doing a show in Memphis, their hometown. Dean says, hey, you got to take a look at this guy. He has some pretty good inks. He's looking for inking stuff. And John was on the radar, and it was timing too, right? We just happened to have something that needed inks. And if I'm not mistaken, John, we on the spot, didn't we? The same weekend I met you.
Yeah.
But see, again, John knew Dean and Mitch Faust and Jim Hall, those three guys there, all three of which I've known for years. And they're like, hey, he's a good guy. You need to,
Yeah, Dean and Mitch pretty much took me under their wing. So
yeah. And so Becca and Pete then is Alex, right?
Mm-hmm.
You knew Alex. Alex was hey, I'm gonna vouch for these people. You need to take a look at their stuff and see what they've got. And that's how that happened. Now Aaron's is a little different. I don't remember. I don't actually remember Aaron how.
I'm not sure how we met either. I can't remember if it was. I've never met you in person.
Mm-mm.
I honestly can't remember if I sent something into you, if I saw something, whatever. But I remember maybe
it's a possibility. So here's a secret. I don't know that I've ever told anyone, especially in an official format. So when Marvel came in and fired everybody, I had a stack of submissions from people that I liked, but it just didn't have any work for, right? I mean, there's those, I like this work. Let me hold on to it in case anything ever happens.
Maybe that was.
I walked out with those. those I had all these submissions that of artists that I liked, and I just took them with me when I left. Those came home with me. So I reached out to a handful of artists that way, and you might have been more in that stack because the timing is makes sense as to when it all happens. I don't know if that's the case or not because I
think
I
I
don't
did
remember.
do something for Marvel. I can't remember. It's been
did you? Well,
ago.
the question would be, did you submit any samples to Malibu Comics at all?
I think I did.
Well, then that's a high probability there because, like I said, I walked out with a huge stack of submissions that had been sent to our office.
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, I think I did send stuff. Yeah, because I remember that was like yeah, it's funny. It's almost weird. It's like I know you. Do you know how we contacted? I don't know. I just know the dude. I mean, he's just Roland is always around. I mean, the guy just won't leave. He's just never,
yeah. I've been told that too. Yeah, Royal Airship says when you and I met, I wouldn't have pegged you as an introvert until you said so. But yeah, but Royal Airships is because we were talking comics. I already knew I was meeting you to talk about comics, and so yeah, I already knew I was kind of in that world. So so speaking of the way things happen, Pete, can you show us that kind of a bigger Brett? Can you give it a little more room on the page? There, maybe about 2/3 of the screen. Can you zoom in on that a little bit? Then we'll pop over and look at Becca's stuff. Can you tell us about this page, Pete? What is it?
So this is the double page, page 2 and 3. 2 and 3?
Page 2 and 3.
2 and 3. This is where our hero Champ enters this burning room and is meted by Pistol and Nim. Nim and Pistol.
Okay, I have to ask you, as an Englishman, did those names mean anything to you?
As a man that studied theatre quite a lot.
Oh, excellent!
Even then, no, it didn't.
Oh, you wound me!
Oh, thank you.
Henry V, right? Henry V. Henry V.
Excellent. Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, Shakespeare. Yeah.
So I've just been trying to get Pistol and Nim down, really, just trying to give him a cool, thuggish gangster sort of look.
What's with could I ask what's with the bear, or is that part of the story and can't be revealed?
So the reason that Champ's run into this room is that he's trying to find the baby.
Got it. Okay.
And he's in the nursery here, and Nim's holding the baby's teddy bear because he's that much of a bastard.
Yeah. And this is page 2 and 3, so we will have on page 1. We'll have seen the building.
I'll show you. Do you want to see the rough of page 1? It's not finished yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to see that?
Great.
Okay, yeah.
So I just got to do the the establishing shot of the city.
Oh, cool.
And I've got to do the burning building on the second panel.
Barb, what do you think? You want to ink this series?
This is just the roughs, Barb. This is just the roughs.
Yes, I saw a couple of your other pages. Yes.
Excellent.
Cool.
How about that, Pete?
Cool. Yeah, I'm chuffed for that. Thank you very much.
Very cool. Sweet. I'm happy.
I've just got to get hold of some paper. I can't get hold of paper in the UK at the moment.
Really?
So what I do is, you can get it from Amazon, but you have to pay an awful lot for shipping because I think it's coming from America. The shop's open tomorrow, or today.
I didn't know we were hoarding paper.
Yay us! No. I use the Strathmore paper, and
okay.
I just can't get it. The shops aren't open, and the art stores online don't seem to have it.
So, are you doing all this digital then, right now?
My roughs I always do digitally, and I just print them out as a blue line and pencil and ink over the top. But this time I just pencil. It's fine. But it just means because I've got more time, I'm just waiting for the paper. My roughs.
I've got about 5,000 pages under my belt, so I hope I do
I was
it justice.
gonna say.
I think you can do fine. Don't worry.
I'm not gonna speak for Barb, but I mean, I'm guessing she could probably ink over your pencils digitally. I
want to work old school on his.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll get out of it. I'm good with it.
I pencil pretty quick from here because the roughs are pretty tight now. So it doesn't take that long.
Cool. But, those pages look great.
Yeah, just got to draw I left the city to last because it's going to take ages.
So, and I'm fairly certain I said this in an email between you and I, but please do make sure you're saving copies of those somewhere that we can. Yeah. So we'll just use those for our extras when we do Kickstarter and things. Yep. Those make any of the sketches and pre-page stuff. Those are great for that. So.
Okay.
Excellent. My people got rearranged. Did we lose somebody? No, I guess not. Becca, pop yours back up on the screen, please.
Oh.
Yeah, she's gonna have to kick you.
I kick you. Do I
Yeah,
start
Peter,
over?
we're done looking at your stuff now. Thanks, though.
Thanks. I can
Bye.
go.
You know, I keep telling myself I'm gonna because my idea for this is to kind of rotate through them, you know, on a fairly regular basis. But I get distracted with the
Oh, yeah, the
conversation, and I
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I,
did I
and
not
I
kick you
forget.
off?
If you're not, I'll stop. Let me just stop sharing.
Okay. There we go.
All right, so Becca, tell us what we're looking at here.
I don't know. Can you see it? Can you see
Oh,
I
yeah.
see a black screen.
Yeah, I saw a Red Rider image come up.
This
real
is
quick.
Nightfall.
Yeah, I know.
It's like John Burns' Blizzard scene, right?
I mean, I know you like to use ink, Becca, but you need this kind of calm down a little bit, the amount of black. You know,
Just a little bit.
Brett, are you having problems?
So
no,
there
it's
it
just
goes.
Do you
solid
see
black
it?
there. Yeah.
There it is.
Actually, I don't remember what page this is. I think it's like 4 or 5 of something big.
Excellent.
I'm working on right now. Yeah.
I like how the bricks came out.
And one of the bricks came out.
I know. I like how the bricks came out. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you
Yeah.
said one of the bricks came out. I'm like, what?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
So, and Something Big is, for those looking on, Something Big is a spinoff of Sid. It's written by Sid Williams, and it's a spinoff from the Scary Book. The lead character in Something Big, and I forgot to say anything about the Pete book. The lead character in Something Big was a secondary lead in the Scary Book, and he's a detective who talks in third person that will just make you laugh. And
So
the
he's
book-
Columbo.
and Pete is very much like that. And Pete is working on we mentioned it at the top of the stream, the as yet unnamed Champion and Miss Fury. And for those longtime readers of Silverline and Cat and Mouse, you'll recall Champion made his first appearance, I think, in Cat and Mouse number. John, if John's still listening, he'll correct me. I want to say it's Cat and Mouse number 3.
I actually do have the.
Oh, look at the Scary
look at
Book!
that.
Oh, wow!
Yes, I actually do have the old, so you can see maybe some of the inside.
Holy crap! Yeah.
Yeah, I still have my copy.
Very cool. Yeah.
Hey, I did that cover. That Scary Book logo.
That's right.
Yeah. And there's a really great picture of Cindy Williams in here, very young. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to torture him.
Oh, I don't mind doing that. Okay, Becca, where can everyone find you online?
Online. Okay, I almost said New Jersey.
I really don't think you want to give out your address.
No. Online, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Behance. I know you're gonna say them, but I'll just quickly just do this. So on Instagram, I am comic_art. On Behance is just my name, Rebecca Winslow, and Twitter, I believe, is the same as my Instagram, but I could be wrong because I always forget it exists.
Yes, and I will be putting them in the information on our videos here, so that everyone will have links to go to.
Yes.
Curtis, what about you? Where can people find you online?
Sure. I'm on Facebook. It's Curtis Fujita. That's Curtis with a K. And then on Instagram and on YouTube, you can find me through my martial arts school. It's Tiger Crane 805, and also on Facebook, Tiger Crane Kung Fu.
And that's why we need to call him Sifu Curtis, right?
Just call me the Raging Eurasian. That's all I need to say.
The Raging Eurasian. I think that's our next Silverline comic, right?
There we go.
John, what about you? Where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, John Vampire Martin. You can find me on Patreon under the same name. You can find me on Instagram, John Vampire Art. You can find me on Twitter. Believe it's John Martin Art or something like that on Twitter.
All right. Barb, what about you? Where can people find you online?
I'm on Facebook and Twitter. You can just look for this, Barbara Kailberg. I'm the only Barbara Kailberg on the internet. This is leftover from a con, by the way. And if you want to Google Barbara Kailberg Deviant Art, you can find some of my art online and see some of my previous stuff.
I don't think that's one of the links you sent me, is it? DeviantArt?
No, I forgot about it.
Okay.
But
Well,
I
send
mean,
it
it's
to me and I can add
easy
it
enough
to
to easy enough to Google me. So
yeah. Well, I have what I have, just so all of you know, I have a Word document that has everybody and all their links that they sent me. And then what I do when we're over, I just copy and paste over those and then just delete whoever wasn't on the show. So
actually, we'll see.
Keeps it really easy for me.
Yep. It's KAALBERG, and I'm the only one on the net, so I'm very easy to find.
Yeah, and you know the way I remember how to say your name is my son loves to eat kale, right?
Oh boy,
kale. He likes kale, and so I just remember Kailberg.
I like kale chips.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, that's what
only
he
if they
likes to
have
eat,
lots
kale
lots of spices on it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. See,
skies
Brett,
the
my son is
taste.
talking in our ear, and y'all can't hear any of it, right? Pete, how about you? Where can people find you online?
It's pretty simple. Peter Clinton Art, and you'll find that under Instagram, primarily Twitter, Facebook, and if you like free comics, every Monday I post a new chapter of a comic I do on Instagram. And
cool.
It's published under Room 23 Comics, and it's just it's a little short thing. Every week a new chapter comes out every Monday.
Did you send me that link too?
I doubt it. No.
Okay.
I can send it to you.
If you want to send me that link, I'll be happy to add it to to the whole list of links that we do here.
Cool.
Aaron, what about you? Where can people find you online?
Find me on Facebook on Humphreys Illustration. Humphreys is spelled HUMPHRES. Instagram at ALH3810. That's my handle. And then I have a website, Humphreys Illustration, my portfolio site, and then I have Humphreys Illustration at Big Cartel, which is my store. And I think that's everything. Oh, my web comic at Webtoons. You just search up Godlings, and then it's been posting on there for a while.
I know we got a link to that one because you sent me that.
Yeah,
so,
you did get that one.
Thank you. And Mike, what about you? Where can people find you online?
You can go to my website at amkcomics.com. It's got a link to my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook page. And my Comic Man in the Mask updates every Tuesday. So, give it a try and check it out.
Excellent. And I'll have those links if I don't already have. I don't remember the Man in the Mask link. So if I've got them, they'll be there. But all the links. You can find me on Facebook at Roland Man, and you can find me on Twitter at Man Roland. But before I say make mine Silverline and sign off, Brett, go ahead and toss them up there. I want to explain this to everyone because I've been saying things and I'm not sure that everybody got them. But one of my favorite classic cult movies is I'm kind of waiting for the pictures, is Flash Gordon. And so you can look at the screen now if you can see the stream. And when I saw John Martin, that was one of the first things that Dean said to me. He goes,
Lord have mercy.
Doesn't he look like Voltan? I'm like, holy crap, he does look like Voltan. And that's why we say Gordon's alive, right? Zachary's alive, because I just pictured John Martin saying that. And so for those of you who are watching the stream, you get the picture of Voltan. It was played by Brian Blessed, another English fella, played by Brian Blessed.
Brian Blessed, yeah.
Yep. And so anyway, love you, John. Okay. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next time. And remember, make mine Silverline.
Ciao.